Welcome to the Action Drug Rehab Hour here on 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS, your local hometown station. It sure is good to be here. Hope everybody is taking care of themselves in this hot weather, and I'm hydrating and I'm trying to stay indoors as much as possible. Anyways, so we've been doing a series of shows, and we've been talking a lot about fentanyl and people that are losing their lives in the fentanyl epidemic, or pandemic is what I should say. But I'm going to change it up just a little bit today. So I wish that I could take people and just throw you in my pocket and let you see what I do every day and what I got to deal with. And also just to look at my Facebook and see the messages that I get. I get messages because I've been doing this treatment now for over 40 years. And the amount of messages that I get from people that are sending text messages that they lost a loved one and that kind of stuff is incredible. But I also get a lot of positive messages saying things like, remember me 30 years ago. Pretty fun stuff. I mean, it makes it really worth what I'm doing. So I was looking at my Facebook on Friday, and I got this Facebook message that I want to read, and I'll explain why in a minute. And here's what it says. I've debated posting this for days, had it sitting in drafts, deleted it numerous times. However, my story is important to share. So I'm going to do this a little slower. Share so many people will understand the reality of what's going on. When I was 17, a week before my 18th birthday, I went to a party, and I got a little too screwed up. I was offered a bottle of water to help me sober up, and I drank it. I had been drugged. I woke up on the floor, locked in a bathroom. The next morning, I have been raped and gotten pregnant. My whole life was changing in the blink of an eye. I struggled to make a decision, but I did what I needed to do. I was a child myself in foster care and was neglected, molested, abused. Within the short time I was there, my foster parents said that I had hip problems and I couldn't walk, so they placed me in a metal brace to collect money from the government. Wow, this poor Jessica. I knew adoption wasn't an option for me. I also was self-aware enough to know that much love that I had in my heart every day, I would look at a child and see that the man who took my innocence away and harbor hatred. During this time, I struggled with drug addiction and immediately went into rehab. I will forever have love in my heart and be in debt to Cary Quashen for helping me in my time of need and putting me up in his program. Action, I had no diploma, job, or a father for the child of a drug addict. I was a father of my father was a drug addict. Anyways, it goes on and on and on. And when I read this, I mean, it touches me. I feel sad because we deal with so many different situations and crises in my world that for somebody to call and say, you know what, I'm doing well now, it touches my heart. And as it goes on, I mean, it's pretty good stuff. I'm not going to read anymore. I'm going to actually bring Jessica on the air, and Jessica is gracious enough to come on this show and give you props for coming here and telling your story. Hey, Jessica, you said that you wrote this and had many drafts and deleted it many times. What was going on? What made you write this thing?
So thank you, Cary, first for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you. Basically, what was going through my head at the time, I was in fear of how it was going to be perceived by family members, by friends. This isn't a topic that is spoken out loud a lot. It's kind of a taboo subject.
Right.
And so I just feel, though, that staying silent is just so much worse. You know, and if there's somebody else out there who can relate, then, you know, that's why it's important for me to share.
Very good. And, you know, I heard this a lot of years ago, and I believe in this with all my heart, that we're as sick as our secrets.
Right.
when we start talking about stuff, we get better. We
Right.
heal, and not only do we heal, we reach people that are also hiding secrets and feeling so alone. That
Right. That's true.
your message can help so many people. That's why I'm very happy and excited that you're on the show with us. So fill us in. Tell us how we met and tell us your story. Because
Okay.
like you said, when you were real young, you ended up in foster care. Let's go through it all.
So basically, both my biological mother and father were addicts. When I was born, I was actually a crack baby. I tested positive for crack cocaine. And so after that, my father, he was arrested for attempted murder and selling drugs, and he spent the next 12 years in prison. So
How old were you then?
CPS got involved when I was 2.
Wow.
So, yes, I wasn't taken away until I was 2 and put into foster care.
Okay.
And there was a lot of trauma that happened while I was there. This particular foster couple, they collected children, as many as possible for a check. They really convinced a doctor to put me in a metal brace because they said I couldn't walk. They said I couldn't speak.
Wow.
But after I was adopted, I had no problem speaking. I think it was just the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't realize how deep the abuse is in the foster care industry.
But even
Yes,
more,
there is a lot of really good people, but there's an overwhelming amount of bad people.
That's
And
true.
most of the children who are child trafficked, they are the lost and forgotten children. They are taken and sold from foster care. Either that or they're riddled in gang activity and drugs.
Right. So, and even to step back for a second, even when you're 2 years old, and you all of a sudden there's a father there and then there's not, that's traumatic, anyways. And then you're ripped out of the house and put into some foster care system. That must have been insanely sad.
It was incredibly hard, yeah.
Do you remember all that?
Well, I have nightmares still to this day of, I guess, memories of stuff that had happened. But I'm not sure how accurate it really is. I just know that they're kind of the same nightmares and they keep happening. But thankfully, I was very young. I was 2, 3 years old when this was happening. Unfortunately, my sister, she was 3 years older than me. She was 6. So she really saw a lot more than what I saw. And so, we kind of, we were adopted with each other. Thankfully, my great aunt had adopted us and kind of saved our lives in a way.
Right.
And I'll forever be grateful to her for that. She really helped change my life, and so did you, Cary. But yeah, so she remembered a lot more of the stuff than I did because she was older.
Right. And you said something that's really true, is there are a lot of really terrific foster homes where people that are doing it for all the right reasons.
Right.
But then there's the other side of the story where there's some other foster homes where people are doing it for all the wrong reasons. And sadly, innocent children get involved in both of that.
Right.
And so sadly, you went to one of those foster homes that really wasn't about children; they were about making money.
Yeah, and and it really impacts you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. What do you remember of that time?
Well, in foster care, I just remember a lot of the children were molesting each other or being molested by this couple. We were neglected, left in dirty diapers for hours. And, in my eyes, I consider what they did to me, putting me in a metal brace, was abuse. And who knows how many other children were affected.
Of course.
Like that.
So they take
So that's what I remember in the foster care system. And then, I was adopted when I was 3. And and it was by a great couple, that, and things were going great, but I still harbored a lot of the trauma from earlier years in my life. So, my teenage years were leading into my addiction. It was very dark.
Right.
I was a runaway most of the time because, I was struggling with a lot of things at home that, out of respect for my family, I'm not going to speak about.
Right.
But things at home were so bad that I felt trapped.
Right.
And I just wanted to run away and party with my friends and not think about my life.
You wanted to numb yourself and not have to deal with all those feelings, huh?
Right.
So
I turned to drugs basically to escape. And due to that, it put me in a lot of bad situations and around a lot of really bad people.
Right. Well, you were running, weren't you?
Yeah, for a really long time.
You were running from...
Actually, I remember an instance at your rehab. I had run away, and my mom was running after me. She had grabbed me by the back of my shirt, and it had ripped. And I was running topless. I think it was off Bouquet.
I actually remember that.
I was running topless, and I did escape, and I ended up calling you days later for help again. But I still have that memory of my mom running after me, grasping her heart.
Right.
Because she was so afraid of what was going to happen to me while I was out there on the streets.
Well, you were so out of control. But really, what people don't understand, especially when it comes to children don't ask for help by saying, help me. They ask for help by acting out. They use drugs. They flunk in school. They break things. They get violent. They cut on themselves. There's suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. But that's really how children ask for help because they don't know how to cope with the feelings, and that's where the drugs come in.
Right.
So it's a pretty good escape.
Very
I mean,
true.
it works for a minute, and then it obviously turns on you. But how old were you? Tell us about your drug history. How old were you when you started, and where did, that kind of thing? Like, remember the time you were walking down the street and you looked up in the sky and a bong fell in your hand and said, "Smoke me"?
No,
Oops, it wasn't like that.
So I was always told that if I ever did drugs, that I would be instantly addicted because I was a crack baby.
Right. And you come from a family of addiction.
Right. So I was always told to avoid sugar or energy drinks or anything like that because it would react to my body similar. So being always told that, it didn't scare me.
Right.
And when things started hitting the fan, in life, I started struggling in my teenage years. I first started with smoking some pot with a friend in middle school.
Right.
I was 14 years old. I believe I was in 8th grade. I went over to her house after school, and her older brother had sold weed. He was 18, and we were all smoking. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, God, how long is this going to last? My mom's going to kill me. I'll never be able to go home. I had no idea.
Right.
But
do you remember? Do you remember the first time you got high? You remember the feelings that were going through your mind? Were there?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I liked it. I liked the feeling, but at the same time, it scared me.
Right.
And I just didn't know when it was going to stop, how long it was going to last, and I knew that my mother was very strict, and had I gone home, I would probably have been placed into rehab that night. But I ended up spending the night. With that story being said, like I said, her brother was 18 years old. He had a lot of friends spending the night as well. And so me and his sister would end up getting touched by the older boys in our sleep and stuff like that. I stopped being friends with her. And that was the first time that I had told my mom, I'm smoking weed. and there was a real concern as far as drugs in my life. From there, it just escalated. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts in my teenage years, especially during middle school, because I was being severely bullied to the point where kids were like throwing things at me on the bus on my birthday. And I would eat in the bathroom stall. Okay. So I was already going through a lot in my home life, and then that was happening. So it just made me think, you know, everything that I've gone through in life so far has sucked.
Yeah, you had nowhere to hide, did you?
No, I just thought, you know, what else is there to do but run away?
Yeah. But you did have somebody,
So,
you did have some positive influences. Sound like your aunt was pretty positive.
yes. And thank God for her, because if it wasn't for her influence and for her just never giving up on me, I wouldn't have the life that I have today.
Right.
I'm so grateful to her and to you, Cary, for being there for me in such dark moments in my life. And you know, there was a couple times I ran away on you, and you just never gave up. Every time I called, you always answered. And same thing with my mom. So that's why you're just so special to me. I have such a special place for you in my heart. You know, I remember that day when I called you for help from rehab. And it was actually the morning, I think it was the morning when I had woken up on the bathroom floor. I was in Newhall. I don't know if you remember that, but I walked across the street from that apartment complex to Jimmy Dean's, and I just sobbed on the bathroom floor, and I called you and I asked you for help. And you came with my mother.
Gosh,
and I believe you brought the police.
No, I do remember, and I did bring
and you
the
were
police.
banging on that apartment door,
Right.
trying to get the guys to come out.
Right.
And then you took me to rehab and tried to give me the help that I needed. And, you know, you and my mother were angels in my life.
How many years ago was that?
So I was just about to be 18, I remember, because you had put me in your adolescent
Right.
side of the program. And I was really struggling because I smoked cigarettes at that time.
I remember that. We weren't allowed
And
that
I
anymore.
said I was going to keep running away until you saw me as an adult, because I was going to be 18 in a week.
Yeah, that was right in that time where I could not legally put you in an adult program.
Right.
So you had to go
right.
in adolescence.
You had me wait. And then you ended up moving me as soon as I turned 18 over to the adult side. And
right.
And then things were better.
It got easier for you, didn't it?
Right. Yes. I felt like I was at a point in my life where I couldn't relate so much to the adolescent side. I needed to hear more mature, you know, the adults.
Right. So what? Yeah. What a road, huh?
It's been a crazy journey. You know, that really was a turning point in my life. At that point, from 16 to 18, I was very addicted to ecstasy pills, cocaine. I smoked a lot of pot, but that was never an issue. But just pills, a lot of cocaine, mostly. In fact, I gave myself, I messed up my nasal cavities.
Right.
I have a postnasal drip.
Right.
Due to so many years of cocaine use.
How did you, from 16 to 18, how did you do all that? How did you get it? How did school go? What was going on? How did you deal with mom?
Well, I was a runaway, like I said, so I wasn't home. My years were spent, honestly, either in the hospital for trying to commit suicide,
right,
in a rehab, in a boarding school or a wilderness camp.
right.
I spent a lot of my, or in juvenile hall, I spent a lot of my youth away from home. I wasn't home.
Right. Yeah, you were in a lot of different institutions and running away.
So when I was 18, I was kind of like on my own.
Right. But we're gonna go on break in a minute, but I just want to let you know that your story takes a lot of courage to come on the air and share this, and I know it's going to help people. And we'll talk more about it when we come back from break. But I could not be more proud of you than I am. You know, and I haven't seen you in a long time, but I follow you on Facebook. So I see your family, your husband, your children, and that's why I do what I do. You know, it's those stories that keep me going. Somebody the other day said to me, "Hey, Cary, you've been doing this 40 years, and you lose a lot of people, and how do you stay? How do you deal with that?" And I said, "We lose a lot of people, but we save a lot of people." You know, and your story, and other people that have those kinds of stories motivate me to keep doing this. So I appreciate you and thank you for that. And we're going to go ahead and take a break, and I'll be right back. This is Cary Quashen on the Action Drug Rehab Show on KHTS, AM 1220 and 98.1. Be right back.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
It's painful when your teenager and your household is out of control. Out of control behavior is your teen's way of telling you something is wrong. Sometimes the reason for your teen's out of control behavior is so personal and tragic, your teen would never tell you or anyone else. Actions speak louder than words. Action Drug Rehab can help. With compassionate individual counseling, group sessions, and family support, Action Drug Rehab has been caring for thousands of Santa Clarita teens for decades. Visit actiondrugrehab.com. Get help now.
Dr. Neil Green has been treating Santa Clarita patients and making them smile for over 35 years. As a child, Dr. Green had a fear of the dentist and disliked even simple checkups. Today, he's sensitive to your needs. If you have anxiety about getting a checkup, he understands your apprehension even if you've avoided the dentist for years. Discover the comfort of visiting a dentist with Dr. Neil Green. Dentistry is his profession. People are his focus. NeilGreenDDS.com. That's Neil, Neal Green, DDS.com.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, STV.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back to the Action Drug Rehab Show here on AM 1220 and 98.1 KHTS. It's good to be back. Jessica, are you with us still?
I'm here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I was just telling you on our break how awesome you're doing and how confident you sound and how you can articulate everything so well, and that's so impressive.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of anxiety, so I really appreciate that.
Well, it's hard to go on and talk about your story. You know, I mean, it's tough because it also brings back feelings and triggers little
it does.
bits.
You know, my heart sitting here is just racing. It's crazy. It's crazy how just talking about it you can have a physical reaction.
Yes, you can. Everybody says, and I hear this all the time, is time heals all, and that's not true. I believe that
Right.
time helps it get easier, and you know how to cope with it better, but you still always have them little feelings in there.
I completely agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And you've been through, you've been through hell. Let's get it straight. You've been through a lot more than most people should ever could even imagine. Before you were,
Definitely been a journey.
yeah, 3 you've been through a lot. So I want to ask you a couple questions. I was just thinking about it. I know that you said your dad went to prison.
Right.
Have you ever seen him or talked to him again?
Yeah, so I did finally meet my dad. I met him around 18.
Okay.
It's crazy. I actually, I went through my aunt's phone and I had heard her say his name before. She still was in communication, but remember I was adopted, so
By
nobody.
your aunt, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, I wasn't allowed to have contact with him until I turned 18.
Okay, makes sense.
A lot of the time with the courts, they do that. They protect the children.
Right. Well, for good reason. We want all children to be safe.
Right. So when I was 18, I ended up going through my aunt's phone. Not my mother, my aunt.
Okay.
Another aunt. I ended up going through her phone, and I had found his name, and I sat on it. I wrote it down on a Post-it, and I thought, I want to know. I have so many questions. I want to call, but I didn't know what to say,
Yeah.
And so I was with my cousin at the time, and I told her, hey, I went through our aunt's phone, and I think that this is my father, my biological father's number, and I want to contact him. And she supported me, and she said, if you want to do that, you should do that. I totally understand, having questions. And so I ended up calling him, and he answered. He said, hello, and I said, hello. And I said, do you know who I am? And he said, I'm sorry, I don't.
Wow.
And I said, well, is your name Juan? And he said, yes. And so I said, I think I'm your daughter.
Wow.
And he just started crying, and I just started crying. And he said, I want to see you. And I was so happy. I was so happy to have just heard his voice.
By the way, just so you know, if I was there, I'd give you a hug right now. Just had to tell you that.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it was.
So I'm sending you a virtual hug.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it.
I actually have a picture of the first day that we met, and I hold it really dear to my heart. It was such a moment for me. And we've had a relationship ever since. He's a great father. He's a great man. He's completely changed his life. He's been sober for a really long time.
Awesome.
And doing the right thing. He is a functioning member of society, and, people really, really do change.
You know what? That's exactly, I always say that I hear that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. That's not true. I've taught a lot of old dogs how to do different stuff, and people can always change. It's got to be something that they want, and if they want it bad enough, anybody can change at any time in their life.
Right.
So go ahead. So you met him, and wow, what a story.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
He's came and visited with me a lot. He's got a relationship with my kids. He was there when my children were born. So I'm so grateful that moment happened, and that I went with my intuition. and contacted him.
Boy,
you know,
that took some courage. Jessica.
But I did want to touch base a little bit about how much your program differed from other programs that I had been to. Because, you know, like I said, I spent a lot of my adolescent years in programs, different programs.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know if you've heard of this this movement, but it's called Breaking Code Silence. Paris Hilton's actually involved with it.
Okay.
But basically, these children get sent to these treatment centers, and at least they did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I know a lot of these centers still exist, but there's a lot of abuse that happens within those treatment centers, those adolescent treatment centers as well.
Right.
That I feel like not a lot of people talk about, and not a lot of parents know because they're so desperate to get help for their children.
It's true.
That they turn to these places that they trust to help their children to save their lives, and it actually ends up traumatizing them more for what they go through in those treatment centers. And I'm going to give you some examples.
Please.
So when I was 14, I was sent to a place called Sage Walk in Oregon, and it was a wilderness camp. It actually was the show Brat Camp, and it aired on ABC, I believe, in 2008, 2009. I could be mistaking those days. But there was actually a show called Brat Camp, and it aired in the U.S., I believe, only one season. It didn't last, but it went on to the U.K. for a couple of seasons. And this Sage Walk, this wilderness camp, was located in Oregon. So a lot of these kids were kidnapped in the middle of the night. You know, they hire these security people to come and put them in handcuffs and blindfolds on them.
Yeah, in those days they were called escort services, and they would go snatch kids from their homes.
Which is very traumatizing to these children.
I can imagine waking up in the middle of the night with a couple of goons in handcuffs.
Right. And so, and then next thing you know, you're in another state. It's just, so thankfully, that wasn't my situation. My mom had told me, you know, I want you to try this camp. I'd actually watched the show, had no idea she was going to send me there. We'd watched it. Like, I think it was on Friday nights together. And I'm like, oh, man, that's crazy. Never thinking it was going to happen to me. You know, but, and so we ended up going to Oregon, and I willingly put my blindfold on and got into the van and proceeded to drive for many hours into the middle of the Oregon desert and the mountains.
They had you drive the whole way blindfolded?
Blindfolded, yes. We couldn't see where we were going. In case we wanted to run, we would know a way out.
Gotcha.
So by the time I finally got there, you know, it was kind of dark, and I was starving, and there was a bunch of dirty people surrounded by a fire. And I remember just kind of standing there saying, I'm hungry. They're like, you hungry? It's like, yeah. And so they gave me a ceramic bowl, and then, and it was filled with some rice or something. And then I said, well, I don't have a fork. And then they pointed to the ground, and they told me to pick up a stick, and that's what I was going to be eating with. And so I was just mind blown. I was like, oh my God, where am I? Like, what? And from that point, you know, they put a 50-pound backpack on me the next morning. And we would hike like 5-10 miles. I know that sounds crazy, but we were just, you know, I didn't even weigh 100 pounds. I was hiking with a backpack that weighed as much as I did. Yeah, they were and through weather conditions that were absolutely insane. I mean, I remember sleeping under a tarp in a sleeping bag in blizzards.
Wow. Yeah, they were trying to break you guys.
Right. And I mean, they did. And towards the end, they will put you on a solo mission. And so you have a day or a couple of days where you are by yourself, surviving, and they feel confident that they have taught you how to survive, and they're not too far. They'll be able to hear if anything happens and if you need them. And while it was a beautiful experience for me, that solo, I'm not going to lie, having that time alone and being completely stripped of like my human rights, honestly, because I didn't get to shower in the middle of the wilderness. Once a week we got a water container and we poured it over our heads in the middle of the forest while calling out a number so that they knew we didn't run away. I was a number.
It was way different back then in those years. The treatment centers were getting away with all kinds of stuff, and people were sending their children out of state for those reasons. Because California, you weren't getting away with any of that, so they were going to Utah and all different kinds of different states, and even out of the country.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had gotten sent to Utah as well at one of the boarding schools, and they would put you on mute if they found out you had, in what their eyes they considered an inappropriate conversation.
Right.
They could put you on mute. They could put you on mute for 5 minutes, 24 hours, a week, where you could not say anything to anyone. And if you had like a breakdown while you were there, they had an isolation room, which was literally just a stall, like a shower stall, a concrete shower stall with a drain at the bottom in case you peed yourself.
We actually took a lot of people into our adolescent rehabs that been through those kinds of programs, and actually talking to parents that even had to sign papers saying they were allowed to do corporal punishment to their children. I mean, they were even allowed to beat them. So it was really pretty crazy stuff back in those days.
And not only that, they were abusing a lot of the children sexually, and then these teenagers would reach out to their parents when they got a hold of them, because I think you only got like a phone call a week, and they would try and tell their parents what was happening, and these counselors would say, well, kids sometimes say this to get out of the program. But it ended up traumatizing some of these kids even more, and these parents live with that guilt.
Places that you go and
say, but I just it's your program was so different for me. It really it was so supportive and loving, and I didn't feel trapped.
Right.
Well, I really just think that you have a great program, and it really does change people's lives. I'm so grateful for you.
Rather
what you do.
Rather than break down people, or especially children, you want to build people up. You want to capitalize on their positive, not their negatives. And you want to support their positives versus beat them up.
When they feel safe and stable, they don't want to run.
Right. Exactly. So how many years ago was that when you were in our program?
I was in programs from the time I was 14 until...
when you went to Action.
Until I was 18, literally. I was on probation until I was 18 years old.
So when was that? How many years? I'm not trying to pick on your age. I'm just messing with you a little bit.
It was in 2008.
It's been that long, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And we're going to take a break in a minute, but when we come back, I want to hear about all the good stuff in your life.
Thank you.
I want to hear about your kids and all the stuff that makes you who you are. Exactly. So we'll be right back. This is the Action Hour on AM 1220 and 98.1 KHTS, your local hometown station.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, STV.
Helping lead the way to a greener future, all of Burtek's Santa Clarita Valley waste collection trucks run on clean burning natural gas. Burtek takes pride in their community, and they've been serving the SCV for nearly 2 decades. Because at Burtek, we'll take care of it. It's agonizing when a family member is creating havoc in your household with excessive drug or alcohol use. Often the abuse is ignored until tragedy happens. Action Drug Rehab can assist. Their professionals can guide you step by step to navigate your loved one to get the care they crave, bringing peace to your home. With compassionate individual counseling, group sessions, and family support, Action Drug Rehab has state-of-the-art inpatient and outpatient facilities in Santa Clarita. Visit actiondrugrehab.com. Get help now.
Many families face a new challenge. Childcare has forced one parent out of the workforce. Otter has created a solution. Otter is a childcare marketplace that connects Santa Clarita parents who need childcare with stay-at-home parents who can care for your kids alongside their own. Otter unlocks the ability for those parents to earn money and provide badly needed childcare for our valley. Otter connects you with your neighbors. Register for free at withotter.com. Withotter.com. Otter, childcare that feels like family.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back to the Action Drug Rehab Hour here on AM 1220 and 98.1. I'm Cary Quashen. I am your host, and I have Jessica with us. Are you still with us?
I'm here.
You are freaking awesome. What a story. I mean, what a life you've been through and at such a young age. And you come around and you're on the other side now, aren't you?
Yeah, there really is light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, that's what I hope to
Corny as
hear.
that sounds.
Because when you're in the midst of it, is the light at the end of the tunnel feels like the train, and you passed that. So you're tell us what's going. I have one more question though. Do you mind if I ask you one more question?
Of course, of course.
You talked about your real dad. What about your real mom, or do you not want to go there? You don't have to go there if you don't want to.
So she is finally sober.
Very cool.
She has been sober for a couple of years. She's a yoga teacher. She's absolutely beautiful. And she's trying to do the right thing. And we're trying to rebuild that relationship currently. Yeah. It's just taking a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's a little rougher, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, we'll take your time. I mean, it's your time. It's your deal. You call the shots on this one.
I mean, basically, after all of that, when I turned 18, my life really took a different direction. I went on to college, and I, started to want to experience good memories in my life and create those. So, I really dove into the things that I was passionate about, like singing. And I went on a lot of auditions for my singing. And that was very healing in itself to get to do that, because I always wanted to sing when I was younger, but I never got the opportunity.
Boy, we blew it. We could have had her sing a song for us, huh? Next time. Go on.
Listen, I am not prepared.
That's why I said next time.
So I just went on to kind of live a normal life, hang out with my friends, do everything in my 20s, experiences, travel, and just kind of find out what I wanted out of life, who I wanted to be, really who I am, learning, discovering who I am. And that's a never-ending process, okay?
Right.
Like I'm always going to be on that journey, and I'll always discover new aspects, or things will change within myself. But I am just such a different person than I was then. Then
you got married.
I went on to meet my husband and have two beautiful children.
Oh, tell us about your kids, how old they are, all that. I want to hear about them.
I have 2 boys. One is 3 and one is 1 year old. He just turned 1.
Nice.
And they are just the angels in my life. I've never experienced unconditional love like that until I had children. And it just, it made me more responsible, because while I wasn't out doing drugs in my 20s because of my experience, I was still going out and partying, and I was kind of selfish. I was very self-consumed during that time. It was about me, finally. And so when I had children again, it wasn't about me anymore.
Right.
It was about my friends.
Changes
and being
everything,
the best
don't it?
Example for them.
It changes everything, huh?
It really does. Everything changes. Everything. When they say that, it really, really does. So, I love them so much. I'm so fortunate that I was able to dig myself out of the hole that I was in and create this beautiful life that I have now, because a lot of people are still stuck in the grips of addiction, and they are, they don't have the freedom over their bodies to do the right thing for themselves
Well, you sure
anymore. And so I can't imagine.
and you sure broke the cycle. I mean, the cycle needed to be broken. Sounds like your whole family is...
Me and my sisters, we actually call it a generational curse.
But you know
We're
what?
breaking the generational curse.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I always say to people that are new, that I'm dealing with? I always say, be to your children what you want your children to grow up and be. And if your children grow up to be half as strong, half as resilient as you are, you're a success, girl. Because look at what you've been through, and look where you're at now. And man, you should be so freaking proud of yourself.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we went on to have a business, be self-sufficient. My wildest dreams really did come true, and it's partly due to the help that you gave me.
Very good.
So thank you.
Well, you sure made my day. When I read that thing on Facebook, you made my day. What would you like to say to people that are out there and struggling right now? Maybe they had to deal with being raped and being molested, and they're still using drugs, and they're trying to run and escape. What would you like to say to them?
Well, if you feel like you're alone, you're not. You're not alone. You're never alone. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, just never give up. Never give up. Never let anybody break you, no matter how hard they try, no matter how hard life tries to break you, no matter what happens, horrible situations happen. There's always a rainbow at the end.
Keep fighting, right?
Things do get better.
Keep fighting.
And they will get better, even if you feel like they won't. Seek help if you are feeling suicidal, or if you just want to stop the cycle, seek help.
And remember, you said suicidal. I just want to just say this. I like to say this as many times as I can. Suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. There's always a way out. Never give up. And there are always people in this world that you can trust. If it's a counselor, a school teacher, a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a clergy. We know who we can trust in this world, and we need to reach out to them. Jessica, you made my day. You really did, and I'm going to bring you back on this show in a few months just so everybody can hear how great you're doing even again. How's that?
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you allowing me to share my story because, like I said, this whole conversation is somewhat taboo, and I feel like being silent is just so much worse. We have to speak our truth, and it helps when hearing other people's stories and you can relate. That's why I came on to talk. if one person can relate and
I'm sure there'll be more than one.
and know they're not alone, or decide that maybe they want to get help, then that's my message.
And everybody has a voice. Use it. Use your voice.
Right.
My name is Cary Quashen. This is the Action Drug Rehab Hour here on 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have you on our show, Jessica. And we'll be back next week.